Hello, everyone, and welcome to Power Lunch with APEC. Today's topic is creating a self-procurement app by leveraging Power Apps, Power Automate, and SharePoint List. To get started, we would like to set some housekeeping rules. We do understand that you're going to have some questions as we go through our demo, so please feel free to utilize the question section to enter your questions, and we'll be sure to answer those questions right after the demo. So who are we? We are APEC Group, a consulting, technology, and managed service provider with over 20 years of experience in multiple business sectors. We also have a wide selection of integrated services that helps organizations maximize their performance and allows them to achieve their strategic objectives. And with this, we have a strong sector expertise and technology understanding, which makes us an ideal partner for businesses, government, non-governmental organizations, and specialized agencies. So to highlight some of our partners, well, we are a Microsoft house, so we are therefore a Microsoft partner. And also we're a partner with Power Software, which is a digital solution provider. And to highlight some of our government clients, we currently provide services for the City of Montreal and also the Republic of Congo, just to name a few. So to highlight our expertise and service offering, as we are Office 365 focused, we are a technology solution provider that offers Office 365 managed services, digital workplace solutions, and we also leverage our project management services as well as our UX and UI design services. So to highlight our management team, we have Mr. Amadou Balde, who sits as the Chief Technology Officer, myself, Yemi Bakri, who is the Managing Partner, as well as the Practice Lead, and we have Mr. Pierre Olivier Michard, who is our Chief Operation Officer. So today I'm going to be a moderator. Again, the name is Yemi Bakri, and with APEC, I am its Practice Lead, and my expertise is around project delivery, and I am also a SharePoint evangelist. I hold a Microsoft Certified Professional certification, as well as SharePoint configuration and administration certification. Today, our expert is Babatunde Akande, and his role with APEC is as a SharePoint developer. He is the Office 365 expert, as well as a Microsoft Power Platform expert. And he also holds a Microsoft Certified Professional certificate, a Microsoft Certified Associate certificate, as well as the Office 365 certificate. So let's dive in. And at this point, I'm going to be passing over to Babatunde.
Thank you very much, Yemi. Good day, everyone. So today, like she said, we're going to be talking about how to create a self-service procurement application using Power Apps, Power Automate, and SharePoint lists. So first off, Power Apps, Power Automate, and SharePoint they are solutions on Office 365. So for the sake of people who might not be very much familiar with it, Microsoft Office 365 is a cloud-based solution with suite of applications and services which aims at business productivity. So it includes several apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, Power Apps, Power Automate, and the likes. So it has a lot of applications. But for the sake of today, we are focusing on just three of these applications, which are Power Apps, Power Automate, and SharePoint. Okay, so what we are building today is a simple self-service procurement application. So which allows employees in a certain organization to make requests for items they need. So the scenario is that you have a request within your organization. You need to make the request. So you go to the application, fill in the form, fill out the necessary details. Then it goes through some series of approvals. And after approving, at the point of approval, you also get notified whether it was approved or rejected. And at the end of the day, you also get notified if the item has been procured. So it's just as simple as that. So Power Apps. So Power Apps is one of the applications we are using today. So it's a tool by Microsoft that allows users to create custom applications, drive process automation, and create efficiency for businesses with little or no code. So that is one of the interesting part of Power Apps. So it allows you to, create applications without you having any prior knowledge of development or coding. So you can create applications that will help you solve business problems within your organization, as we are going to be seeing today. So it's another interesting part of it is that it can be used, any app you create with this can be used on both your web and your mobile phones, and it can also integrate with multiple data sources. So what is Power Automate? So Power Automate, which is another tool we are using today, is a tool that allows you to create powerful workflow automation directly within your apps, and it's also a no-code approach. So like I mentioned, we are going to be sending notifications at each stage of the request. When you submit a particular request, you need to get notified via email, just the same way we fill a form regularly on the internet. And when you fill the form, you get an email to notify you that your submission was uh, successful. So we are going to be using this Power Automate to achieve this as well. So it can also connect to multiple different data sources, both within Office 365 and outside Office 365. So SharePoint list as well, which is going to be serving as our data source today, um, is a collection of data that gives you and your coworkers a flexible way to organize information. So I want to believe most of us on this call are very much familiar with SharePoint. So we are focusing on one of the aspects of SharePoint, which is SharePoint list. So we can see from this image I have here. So this is an example of what a SharePoint list looks like. So it has rows and columns where you can fill in different information, and every information we are filling on our application will be submitted here. So for the sake of people who might not be very much familiar with these Power Apps, Power Automates, for the sake of time, I might not be really able to go into the much explanation, but you can check out our blog. So we have articles written on Office 365, Power Automates, Power Apps, and SharePoint. So kindly read that up. So the logic behind our app today is this. So we have a case where a requester comes in, fill in a form, fill in all necessary information on the form within the app, submit the request. After submission, you get a notification email to confirm that your request has been submitted. After which, a notification also goes to your manager. So one of the information you are filling on the form is your manager, the manager's name. So when you select the manager also gets an email notification to notify him or her that uh, one of people who encounter you requested for an item that requires your approval. So based on the action it takes, then the workflow also knows what to do. So if you reject, for example, the requester gets a notification mail to tell him or her that the request has been rejected, and the workflow ends there. So in the case where he approves, the requester also gets a notification to confirm that the request has been approved. Then the procurement team as well also get another notification for them to confirm that the item has been purchased. So when they purchase the item, they also go back and confirm that the item has been purchased. So after confirmation, the requester gets a final notification to inform him or her that the item requested has now been purchased, and that is the end of the workflow. So for the sake of time, we have made this app very short and simple, but I want you to bear in mind that using this platform, the Power Apps, Power Automate, SharePoint, you can achieve much more. You can develop much more complex applications, but for the sake of time, we have kept it very simple. Okay, so this is what our end result is going to look like. So we have this is a SharePoint site, and this is what our app is going to look like at the end of the day. So this is an app embedded on this, an app built with Power Apps, which was embedded on the SharePoint site. So at the end of the day, we are going to be embedding our app on the SharePoint site. So I have a couple of checklists here, which we are going to be following just to make sure we are on track while creating the application. So as we go ahead, we'll be checking every of these checklists. So enough of the talking. I'm going to get straight now into the demo. Okay, so what we have here is a SharePoint list. So for the sake of time, I already created my SharePoint list. I already created all the columns I'm going to be needing, the requestor, the department, manager, item needed, and all that. So I want to assume many of us should be able to, create a SharePoint list and create the column. So what we are doing today, like I said, we are going to be following a couple of checklists, which I have here. So the first on our checklist here is to create a Power Apps application from a SharePoint list. So directly from your SharePoint list, you can go ahead and create an app. So I'm going to say create an app. I'm going to give it a name. So self-service procurement app. Then I say create. So after creating the application, it takes just a couple of minutes for the app to be created. So we can see that without you having to write any code or anything, just with a few clicks, we're already creating an application. So while the app is loading, so just a few more information as to why we are using Power Apps for this. So Power Apps is used to create forms and all that for the purpose of end users. So the same way we all go to the internet, go to a site and fill a form, or from a mobile application, we fill in unnecessary information like our name, date of birth, and all that. We fill in all those information and submit. So the same way we are trying to do, or the same thing we are trying to achieve here with the Power App. So when a person needs a particular item, he or she comes to the app, fill in all the necessary information from on the form, and clicks on submit. So after clicking on submit, then the information is submitted to our data source. So what happens on a normal day is when you fill a form, you are not really bothered about where the information goes to, but the information is actually being submitted somewhere. So today we are going to be our own developer. So we are going to be seeing, or when you fill a form, what happens after that. So which is what we are trying to do today. So yes, our app is ready now. So we can see that we have a couple of screens here. So the first thing we want to do here is want to preview our app. So when you create an app from a particular data source like SharePoint list, this is what it looks like. So I can preview from this play button here. So I can see that I can see the items I have on the list, and I can click on this plus icon, which takes me to the new form, and I can see that I have all the fields that are on the SharePoint list, so I can fill in all the necessary information and click on submit. So after clicking on this, one thing I want to do here now is, so this is what the apps looks like. What we want to do here is we want to modify it to look a bit better than what it is currently. You might not be able to do much of the design, but just to at least have an idea of the concept of how you can do your simple designs on this. So going back to our checklist, so I have this created. So now we are going to create a new home screen. So a new home screen here. So I'm creating by clicking on this new screen. creating a new blank screen. So to make a screen, an home screen on Power Apps, what we need to do is we need to move it to the very top. So I'm going to click on this and move it to the top till I get to the very top here. So so what I want to do here again is I want to make some little modifications on the app. So I can change the background color, the field, I can add icons, I can add images. So the first thing I want to change here is I want to change the background color, which is from this field. So the concept of changing properties and colors and inserting icons is very similar to when you are using your PowerPoint, your Excel, or Microsoft Word. So you can see when I click on Insert tab here, I have a couple of options, whatever I want to insert, and it's just as simple as that. And like I always say, if you can use PowerPoint, you can use Excel, you can as well build an app with Power Apps. That's how simple it is. So I've inserted a label. So I want to give this label, I want to change the text. So I want to call it self-service procurement app. Right. So I can also go ahead and do a lot of modifications. So I want to change the background color, I can change this field, I can change the text color, I can change it to white. I can also make it centralized or align it right or left. So one thing again I want to do here is I want to insert an image. So I can go ahead and say insert and select image. So I can drag and drop it wherever I like on the app. And I can come here to the image here and select add an image file. So I have a picture here that I've downloaded. So I'm just going to be selecting that. So as I've selected that, the app will be added, the image will be added to my app, which has happened right now. So one thing I want to do here is I also want to insert some buttons. So I'm clicking on the button. So I'm inserting two buttons here. So I can also drag and drop it anywhere I like on the screen. So after inserting the button, I want to change the text. So I can come here to the right and change the button here to the text I want to display on the button. So I'm calling this new request. And then I come here, I call this view history. Right. So new request, view history. So let's preview our app once again. So we can see that the app is looks a bit better now, but clicking on these buttons, they don't seem to be functional yet. So what we need to do here is we need to add some functions on each of the buttons to say, okay, when I click on this, what should happen? So for example, I want to add a function to a new request. So when I click on new request, what I want to happen is when I, just the same way I click on the plus icon. So just the same way I click on the plus icon here and a new form is created, I want to, do that as well. So for the sake of time, I'm just going to be copying the function we have on this plus icon here. So this says new form, edit from one, and navigate screen. So I'm just going to be pasting this to the onSelect property. So there are a couple of properties you can change here. You can change the border color, the order, the fill color, the vertical align. So there are a lot of properties, but the one we are focusing on is the onSelect, which means when I click on this button, what should happen? So this is saying create a new form on the for this edit from one, which I have here, and also navigate to this edit screen one. So it navigates back to this screen. So navigate takes you, navigate function takes you from one screen to the other. So we have that here as well. So view history. So from this browse screen, it shows the history of items that has been submitted. So what we want to do here is when I click on view history, it should take me to this browse screen. So I'll go to the onSelect again, change this to navigate. Then I select browse screen one. So which means navigate to browse screen one. So here When I click on new request, I can see it takes me here. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to view history, which takes me here as well. So from view history, I want to reduce the size of this. Okay, and add this. So and I want to insert another icon that takes me back to the screen one. So let's look for an icon that looks like back. So we can use this, for example, and say can also change the color to white. So this back here, we go to the unselect property as well and tell it to navigate us back to screen one. So navigate screen one. Right, so let's quickly go back to our checklist. Let's see the things we've done. So we've been able to create a new home screen. We've been able to make some modification to the design, like the color and the background. We've added buttons and pictures. We've added necessary formula to the buttons. So we also need to delete some irrelevant fields. So on the form, there are certain fields that I don't want my end users to fill. So for example, I have the status field, which shouldn't be selected by the user. So I might need to remove that. The comment as well should be the comment of the approver. So I might want to remove that as well. So I can select this data card here and just use my delete button. Selecting this and deleting as well. So besides this, one thing I want to do here again is I want this requester field to automatically pick the name of the user who is currently logged on. So what I can do here is I want to go to this advanced. So here I can't make changes to this property. So I might need to unlock this to change the properties. So I'm unlocking this. So this is now editable. So the default property, which means what should be the default value on this field. So there's a function on Power Apps called user.fullname. So which shows the full name of the user that is currently logged in, which it picks. So another thing is we can see that this is still editable, so I can still go ahead and modify this before submitting. So what I want to do is I want to make this a read-only field. So I can select this and go back to a property called display mode and change this to there's a property called display mode.view. So which means this field will be a view only and the user won't be able to make any modification to this. So with that, I think we are quite done with our app. So the next thing we need to do now is to save and publish our app. So I'm going here, I'm saying save. So after saving, I'm saying publish and say publish this version. So after publishing the app, the next thing we want to do, a quick check on our, okay, we've deleted the relevant fields, we've published our app. So we want to embed this app on a SharePoint page. So I'm going here to my SharePoint page. So I want to edit this. So I want to embed this on my SharePoint site so that users can easily, access this application from the site. So what I need to do here is I'm going to add a web part called Power Apps. So Microsoft Power Apps. So we can see its request for the app web link or the ID. So if I go back to the list of my Power Apps, so we can see the app we just created, and I can go into the details. So I can copy the ID of this application. So I'm copying that and pasting it here. Right. So after pasting this, our apps should be successfully, embedded on our SharePoint site, and it is. So we need to save this page. Right. So as regards Power Apps, I think we are quite done. So the next part we need to move into now is the automation part, which will be handled by Power Automate. So welcome to Power Automate. So here we need to create an automation that says when you create an item on our SharePoint list, which is our data source, then the workflow starts and it takes all the necessary actions that we mentioned earlier. So here we are going to go to a new. So there are a couple of other type of automation you can create, but today we are focusing on the automated workflow. So here our trigger will be when an item is okay. While that is loading, we can give our app our workflow a name. So we say self-service procurement workflow. Then we say when an item is created. So there are a couple of other triggers you can use depending on your data source and all that. So because we are using the SharePoint list, we say when an item is created, which means when a new item is created on our SharePoint list, then do this, and do that. So the first thing we need to do here is we need to select our data source, our sites. So I have it on this site, then the lists. So I have a couple of lists on the site. So you select the particular list that you want to connect to. So after doing that, so the first thing we want to do here is we want to update our item on the SharePoint list. So I'm selecting the, so we can see that, like I mentioned earlier, it can connect to hundreds of data sources. So you can see a lot of data sources, Facebook and the likes that Power Automate has the ability to connect to. So we are using SharePoint here. So what we want to do here is we want to update item. So there is an action called update item. So the reason we are doing this is we want to remember we have a status field on the SharePoint list. So I'm selecting the list, then I'm selecting the ID, which is when an item is created. And I'm also selecting the title. So I can pick my contents dynamically from here. So what I want to set majorly is the status. So I want to set the status to pending, which means when a new request is submitted, the default status should be pending. So based on actions that are now taken afterwards, then we can update the status. So after I update item, the next thing I want to do is I want to send an email. So I'm going to use this mail and say send an email. So who am I sending this email to? So like I explained, we need to send a confirmation mail to the requester who created this. So there is a value here called created by email. So which means we are saying this is the email of the user who created that request. So the subject, okay, so for the sake of time, I have a couple of templates here which I'm just going to be following. So the subject here will be new item created. Then the body of my mail will be this. So these contents will be dynamic. So I'll say I requestor. So I can pick my requestor from here. So which means the name of whoever requested for the item. So on SharePoint, there is a unique ID for every item. So I'm going to use that ID here and say ID. Then the title, which is the title of the request. So I'm going to pick the title. Then I'm going to pick the item needed. So I have the item needed. Right. So I also have the justification, which means why are you requesting for this particular item? So I have that. So this is the mail that will be sent to the requester. So this is a sample of how it works when you go online and you fill a form and you get a notification to say hi, your name. Then you say, okay, maybe you ordered a particular item and you see your ID, the item you ordered for and all that. So this is similar. This is a similar concept using this platform. So the next thing we want to do here is we also want to send an email to the manager. So the manager is going to be doing an approval. So there is a connector here called approvals, which we are going to be using. So these approvals allows you to create approval for the a particular user. So rather than getting the normal email, he or she gets an email that's allows him or her to approve. So we are going to say start and wait for an approval. So the person can either approve or reject. So I have approve or reject here. So this is also going to be coming in form of an email, but you can then click on approve or reject directly from the mail. So what we need to do here is the title, which is going to be like the subject of the mail. So I'll go back to my templates. It says action required. So this is going to be the mail the manager is going to get. So who are we assigning this to? So the user we are assigning this to action this will be the manager. So we are selecting the manager's email from this dynamic content here. So the details is similar to the subject or the body of the email. So you can say hi manager name. You can also pick the manager name. So to pick the manager name, we also go back to our dynamic content and search for manager's display name. So that is okay. So I have all this information, so I can just put this here and say copy and paste. So maybe in addition, I might want to put the requester. So the requester here, I put the requester's name as well. So he sees, so we are sending this email to the manager. So he sees all the information that was filled by the requester, the name of the requester, the item that is needed. So he can make a decision either to approve or reject. So the next thing we need to do is to, so based on whatever action that was taken by the manager, we need to take some certain actions. So we need to have a condition to know whether the manager approved or rejected. So there's a value here from this approval called outcome. So we are going to be selecting the outcome, which is what is the outcome of the action of the approval. So it has two options to either approve or reject. So we say when it's equal to approve. So if it is yes, which means when it's approved, then we can add all the actions we want to perform here. But when it's rejected, which is when it's not approved, it's obviously rejected. So we can have the actions here as well. So we are going to be starting with when it's rejected because that is very straightforward. So what we need to do is when it's rejected, the first thing we might want to do is, update our status from pending. Remember, we updated it to pending here. So I'm just going to be copying this and going to my clipboard and paste this. So I'm going to be changing this from pending to rejected. So the status changes here from pending to rejected. So after changing this to rejected, the next thing we want to do is send a rejection email to the requester. So I want to send this again to the created by email. So I search for my created by email. Then the subject of the mail as well. So the subject, so let's go back to our templates. So I have it as request not approved, which is the subject of the mail. So the body of the mail as well is going to be this. So requester, so this is due to show to address the particular user who initiated the request. So you can say requester. Then we have the ID. We have the ID. Then I have the title as well. So just to bear in mind, one of the reasons we are putting all this information for the requester is imagine a scenario where you've requested for a couple of items. So you know which particular item was either rejected or approved. So that's why we are also putting all this information in the body of the mail. So justification. Then we also want to get the user who rejected, which is the manager. So there's a value here called response approver name. So the approver name gets the name of whoever approved or rejected the request. So the next thing we want to do here is also get the comment. So the response, we want to get the comment. So while the manager is approving or rejecting, you can also put a comment of why he's approving or why he's rejecting this. So we want that to also show on the mail body. So we also want to put the status, which is the end here. So if it was rejected, these are only the two actions we want to perform. We want to update the item to the status to be rejected, and we also want to send a rejection email to the requester. So after that, otherwise, if it was approved, the first thing we want to do here is we want to send an email, or sorry, we need to update the status as we have been doing. So from pending, in this case, it's going to update to approved. So after updating this to approved, the next thing we need to do is now send an email to the requester again. So we are going to be sending to the created by email once again. So that's the email, the approval email now, to show that yes, your request has been successfully approved. So here again, I have the subject, say request approved. Then the body of the mail as well. So hi, I have the requester. So I can pick my requester's name here and see the details, the request ID. And like I mentioned earlier, the reason we are putting all this information is to show the requester which request was approved. So he could have requested for like 5 different items. If one was approved and he doesn't have the details, he might not be able to get which particular item was approved. So which is why it's important to put this in the body of the mail. So the approved by, which is the user who approved it. Once again, we go to our approver name. So we have the name here. So we also have the comment, which is the response comment. Then finally, we have the status. Okay, so after sending this email to the requester, the next thing we need to do is we also need to send an email to the procurement team. So this procurement team, we are going to be using our approvals once again. So rather than using an ordinary email, we are using approvals because the procurement team are going to be confirming that the item has been purchased. So they have an action to take. So in this case, we are going to be using custom responses. So rather than using approve and reject, because they are not approving or rejecting, all they are doing is what? Confirming purchase. So we can have different options. So in the case where you don't want to stick to the default approve and reject, maybe you have some other options like approve, reject, return, and the like. So you can use these custom responses and add new items and all that. So I just need one option, which is confirm purchase. So here again, we have another email that goes to the procurement team. So this will be the subject, which is going to the title field here. Then the assign to, so this assign to could be the email of the procurement person. So I'm just going to be selecting my email here. Then the details, which is the body of the email. So also going to be selecting this. So a new item. Okay, Okay, sorry, I missed the first line. So I have this. So procurement team, a new item has been approved by. So we want to get the user who approved this. So we can also get it from the approver name here. Then we have the requester. So this is also to show the procurement team the item that was requested, and other information as per the item. They also know who approved it and the item that is needed, the justification, so they know what item to get and the next step to take as well. So they also have the justification, and also this is going to serve as a reference. Justification. Then I have the manager. Then the comments. Then finally, we have the status. So the status. So after this, after the procurement team has confirmed the purchase, since they have just only one action, we don't need to have any condition. We know that once they've confirmed purchase, then that's the only action they take. So the next thing we want to do here is we want to also update the item again. So we want to update the status as we have been doing. So right now, the last thing we updated it to here was, approved, which is after the manager has approved. So it comes to the procurement team and they confirm that it has been purchased. So we update this status field to purchased. So here we can go ahead and then send the final notification mail to the requester of the item. So once again, we select our created by email, which is the user who created it. The subject of our mail, which is item purchased. Then finally, we have this. So we have our requester. Once again, we pick the name of our requester from the dynamic content here. Our requester with the request ID. So we select our ID once again. And that is about it. So just a quick check to be sure we've going back to our checklist. So we were able to embed the app on a page. We were able to create our Power Automates for the application. We also added the actions and the email templates to the Power Automate. And we're also updating the status at each stage. So with this, I believe we are done with our app and everything should work just fine. So the final thing we need to do here is we need to run a quick test just to be sure that everything we've been doing works very fine. So here we have our app embedded on the page here. So I can select my new request. Right, so I need a new laptop. So I'm going to say my new laptop request. So I'm assuming that is the title of this. And I'm selecting my department, say I'm in the IT department. I'm selecting the manager, so I can easily select from any of the manager within my organization. So I'm just selecting myself here. So item needed, so I need a laptop. Justification, I'll say my current laptop is faulty. So after this, I can click on this and submit the item to the list. So just to be sure, we can go to our list and refresh the page to be sure that our item is successfully submitting, and it is. So we can see that I have all the information I filled, my new laptop request, my name, the requestor, department, my manager, the item I need, and all that information. So after that, um, within a few seconds, I believe I should get uh, an email notification to notify me that my request has been submitted, and also that it also notifies the manager that a particular person has requested for an item. So here I have the first email, which is in. Yay. So I have my name. You have created a new item. Remember, we added all this information while creating our Power Automate. So these are all the information we added. So hi, the requestor name. So this is dynamic. It's going to get the information of the requestor based on whoever requested for the item, the request ID, the title, the item needed, and the justification. So once again, another email comes to the manager. So this is going to go to the manager because I selected myself as a manager. That's why I'm getting this. So you also say your action is required and all this information. So I have approved and I can submit. So after the manager approves, the next thing is the requestor gets another email to notify him or her that the request has been approved, and I got that email now. So he's saying, hi, your request has been approved. See the details below, and I have all the details here as well. So the next thing I get is another email telling which goes to the procurement team. So hi procurement team, a new item has been approved by this, and I have all the information here. So this is for them to confirm that the item has been purchased. So you can see that they've confirmed purchase. So after confirming purchase, the next thing that should happen is that the requestor should get a final notification email to say, hi, the requested item with ID has now been purchased, which is the end of the workflow. So just a reminder, like I mentioned earlier, we have made this app as simple as this for the sake of time, but you can create a more sophisticated application using this platform, the Power Apps, Power Automate, and SharePoint. You can connect to different other data sources. You can create applications that will, solve your business problems within your organization. But we have made it this simple just for the sake of time. So, but I believe within this few minutes, we are able to see that even within these few minutes, we are able to create an application that at least solves a business problem. So imagine we have enough time, we can create an application that will, be much more sophisticated than this. So this is the end of my presentation. So thank you very much for listening. So I'm going to be passing it back to Yemi for the question and answer section. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tunde, for that very detailed oriented presentation on how to create a simple self-service procurement app leveraging Power Apps, Power Automate, and SharePoint. The SharePoint list as a data source to be specific. So at this point, so we're going to now open up for our questions and answers. I do see that we have some questions here. If you have some questions to ask as we go through some here, feel free to enter it in the question box and I will pick that up and ask and Tunde can answer. Should we not be able to take all the questions because of the 10 minutes mark that we have left, we'll be more than happy to follow up with you via email to make sure that that is answered for you. All right, so the first question that we have here says, can the self-service procurement app be created using a desktop only, or are there other apps for Power Apps, Power Automate, and SharePoint Online that allows users to make use of a mobile device or tablet to create the application? So this is the first question that I got. Tunde, would you like me to read that over, or did you get that?
Yeah, I got that. So the for now, there is no application to create your Power Apps application on your mobile phone. But there are applications, there is a Power App application which you can use on your Android or your iOS, depending on the device you are using, which you can download and run your apps on your mobile phones. But creating the application requires you to use your desktop. So for now, I don't know if there is a plan by Microsoft to do that in the future, but for now, there is no application for mobile phones. But there are applications for both Power Apps, Power Automate, and SharePoint that you can run Power Apps on it and run your Power Automate or SharePoint, which you can always get on Play Store or iOS store. But that only runs the application on your mobile phone, not creating them. I don't know if that answered the question.
Okay. I'm sure if that doesn't answer the question, we can always follow up with the asker. All right, the next
Mm.
question I have here is how to debug the logic in Flow. So I'm guessing, how do you debug the logic in Flow if there was an error? I think that's the question here. Did you get
Okay.
that, Tunde?
Yes, yes. So I think Flow is very explicit enough. So when you have it's just about you being able to think of what and what you need to achieve. So you might need to put it on a pen and paper, try to know, okay, when I do this. So for example, while we were creating this, we were able to say, okay, when I create an application, when the user submits, I need to do this, I need to send an email. When he approves or rejects, I need to do this. So you need to just get what is the what and what do I want to achieve? When this happens, what should happen next? So you then tell the flow to say, okay, when you do this, then based on this particular condition or based on this action, then this is the next thing you should do. So, and it's always very explicit as well. Even if you have errors while creating your flow, it always tells you where the error is that you can easily debug if you have any errors.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, I hope that answered the question for the asker. Like I stated earlier, if you have any other further questions beyond this, you can feel free to send us an email and we'll be more than happy to address those for you. All right, we have another question here. Um, are these applications free or do they need to be paid for?
So like I mentioned, Power Apps, Power Automate, and SharePoint are part of Office 365 applications. So Office 365 is a cloud-based solution, and it's subscription-based as well. So you need to have a particular subscription. So it's mostly used by organization, whereby they subscribe for each user. So you have a license fee you are paying on each of the user within your organization, depending on the kind of plan you want, depending on the number of applications and whatever you want to achieve. So you might need to be paying for these applications. So using Power Apps, Power Automates, and SharePoint, if you have an Office 365, you already have access to these applications. But they also have some additional plans just in case the free plan does not meet your requirements. So if you need to do much more with your Power Apps and Power Automate, there are certain other plans like Plan 1, Plan 2 that you might need to subscribe for. But that will be
Awesome,
when you see that you have a need for that.
awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Tunde. We have another question here. Can you please tell us what level of training a user would need to create something like this, and how will Apex support with that?
Um, so the level of training that the user will need, like we can see that here just within a few minutes. So this using this platform, it's very simple. So it's even a user that does not really have any knowledge of coding or anything prior to now, you can always use this platform to create some sophisticated applications. So if even if you're an end user that you don't like coding, but at least as long as you can, the what you are trying to create, you can use PowerPoint, you can use your Excel, then you can also use this platform, to create your applications. And APEC will also be willing to, you know, give this support or training. So you can always contact us and I think Yemi should be able to give you more information as to how to get back to us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also to kind of add to that answer, Tunde, Power Apps and Power Automate, especially Power Apps, does come with some templates that you can
Right.
already start to utilize from there. And like Tunde said, we do offer some training that we can help build out any apps that you like to have built. Okay, we have another question here. The question is it possible to use Power App Platform to create a comprehensive procurement system with capabilities for requisition, raising purchase orders, vendor management, etc.?
Yes, definitely. So Power Apps allows you to, like I mentioned earlier, we have made this very simple and straightforward just for the sake of time. So if we had enough time, we could create something that is much more comprehensive than what we have currently. So with Power Apps, as long as you can think about the logic, you can think about what you know what you want to achieve, you can always create this kind of application. So at least I've worked with a couple of them creating applications that are used for end expense management, requisitions, that goes through some series of approvals and all that. So it is very much more possible using this platform, your Power Apps, Power Automate, and SharePoint, or even any other data source you want to use to achieve this um, creation of the application.
Awesome, awesome. And I guess to also kind of just finalize that answer, the big answer is yes, absolutely. Okay, so we're going to take two more questions for the sake of time. The other question that we have here is it possible to interface Power Apps with mobile applications?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Sure. The other question was, is it possible to interface Power Apps with mobile applications? And I think I can actually take this answer for you today. The answer
Right.
is yes. The apps that are being built can also be used on a mobile application, as well as the web. And I think with the right amount of code, you can call it on other mobile applications that you might want to build outside of a SharePoint or 365 solutions. I think that that would be the big answer to that is yes. Okay, so the last question here is, can we use this application with a trial account? For example, if yes, can we use it with an E3 trial with these
Ye-
apps?
Yes, definitely. I think even the list of the subscription, which is I think business essential or thereabout, also has access. So any of the Office 365 application or subscription rather has access to the Power Apps, Power Automate, and SharePoint. So the answer is yes. You can use this on even a trial account.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for those questions. For the questions that we didn't get to, we'll be more than happy to follow up with you via email. So again, just to also kind of touch on how we can continue to communicate. So for all sales inquiry, please feel free to reach out to myself, Yemi Bakri. I have my LinkedIn name here, so you can find me on LinkedIn by typing my name as it is here, or you can send me an email to yemi@apecgroup.com. Don't forget to visit our website at www.apecgroup.com. And like Tunde mentioned earlier, we do have a tech blog that we share our knowledge in the areas of Office 365, project management, UX, UI, and so forth. So please feel free to check us out there at techblog.apecgroup.com. And at the moment, we're also offering free consultation. So after this webinar, if you have any questions, if you have some requirements that you like us to take a look at, we're offering free consultation on that. And we're also offering free proof of concept. So if you're looking to build out some solutions, whether it's Power Apps, Power BI, Power Automate, Driven, or SharePoint online, we'll be more than happy to work with you to provide free proof of concept on that as well. So without further ado, I think this brings us to the end. Thank you so much for your time. We will be sharing the recording for this to all the participants. So again, thank you, and feel free to connect with us.